Have you ever found yourself confused about the whole organic food debate? It's a topic that sparks a lot of discussion, with various claims about the perceived benefits of organic foods. There's a whole garden of myths surrounding this topic, and it can get a little tricky navigating through them, but don't worry, we're here to help. In this video, we're going to debunk 5 of the most common myths about organic foods. So, are you ready? Join us in this journey of debunking the myths about organic foods. The first myth we're tackling is that organic foods are always healthier. Now, there's a pervasive idea that organic equals superior nutrition. But when we delve into the research, the narrative begins to unravel. A comprehensive review of studies published over a span of more than 4 decades found little evidence to support the idea that organic foods are significantly more nutritious than their conventionally grown counterparts. This analysis, published in the Annals of Internal Medicine, reviewed over 200 studies comparing both the health benefits and nutrient content of organic and non-organic foods. The conclusion? There's a minimal difference in nutritional content between the two. You see, the nutritional profile of a food item is determined largely by its genetic makeup and, to some extent, the conditions in which it grows. So, whether a tomato is grown using organic or conventional methods, its nutritional content remains pretty much the same. Now, this isn't to say that organic foods don't have their benefits. They often have lower levels of pesticide residues and are generally free of artificial preservatives. But in terms of pure nutritional value, vitamins, minerals, and other essential nutrients, there's no clear winner between organic and conventional foods. So the next time you're at the grocery store, remember that just because something is labeled organic, it doesn't automatically make it a healthier choice. So, the notion that organic foods are always healthier is debunked. Moving on to the next myth. Organic foods are pesticide-free. This concept is a common one, but let's dive a bit deeper and see what the facts have to say. It's true, organic farming does have strict regulations regarding the use of synthetic pesticides. However, this doesn't mean that organic foods are entirely pesticide-free. Instead, organic farming mainly relies on naturally derived pesticides to combat pests and diseases that could harm crops. These natural pesticides are often made from plants, bacteria, fungi, and certain minerals. They include substances like pyrethrin, which is derived from chrysanthemums, and rotenone, a substance found in the roots and stems of several tropical and subtropical plant species. But don't let the term natural fool you into thinking these substances are harmless. In fact, some natural pesticides can be just as harmful as their synthetic counterparts. Also, it's important to remember that natural doesn't always equate to safe. Arsenic, for instance, is a naturally occurring element, but it's also a well-known poison. Similarly, some naturally derived pesticides can have negative impacts on human health and the environment. So, while organic farming does aim to be more environmentally friendly by avoiding synthetic pesticides, it's not accurate to say that organic foods are completely free of pesticides. Hence, the idea that organic foods are pesticide-free is debunked. The third myth we're debunking is that organic farming is better for the environment. Now, this is a widely held belief, isn't it? Green fields, happy animals, no nasty chemicals. It sounds like a dream come true for the planet. But let's dive a bit deeper. When we think of organic farming, it's easy to focus on what's not there, the synthetic pesticides and fertilizers. What we tend to overlook, however, is the issue of efficiency. Organic farming typically requires more land to produce the same amount of food as conventional farming. In a world where land is increasingly scarce, this is a significant environmental cost. Moreover, studies have shown that organic farming can actually emit more carbon dioxide per unit of food produced. This is because organic systems rely heavily on tillage or ploughing, which releases carbon stored in the soil into the atmosphere. And then there's the issue of nutrient runoff. While it's true that synthetic fertilizers can cause water pollution, organic fertilizers aren't necessarily better. Nutrients from manure or compost can also leach into waterways, causing problems like algal blooms. In conclusion, while organic farming certainly has its merits, it's not the environmental panacea we might imagine. It's a complex issue, with trade-offs that need to be carefully considered. So the myth that organic farming is always better for the environment is debunked. Next up is the myth that organic foods taste better. Now, This is a particularly interesting one because taste is incredibly subjective. What one person finds delicious, another might find unpalatable. You see, the perception of taste is influenced by a multitude of factors: personal preference, cultural background, and even psychological factors. So, does organic food actually taste better? Well, the answer is not as straightforward as you might think. Some studies have found that people can't tell the difference between organic and non-organic foods in blind taste tests. Others have suggested that the perception of organic food tasting better might be more psychological than actual. It's also important to note that the quality of taste can vary significantly based on factors like freshness and how the food is prepared. So, while certain individuals might find that organic foods taste better, this is not a universal truth. Therefore, the belief that organic foods always taste better is debunked. The final myth we're debunking is that organic foods are GMO-free. It's a common belief that organic equals non-GMO, but that's not always the case. While organic standards do restrict the use of genetically modified organisms, they can't always prevent cross-contamination. This could happen in various ways. For instance, bees might carry pollen from genetically modified crops to organic fields. Or a farmer might use the same machinery for both organic and non-organic crops, inadvertently transferring genetically modified material. So, while it's true that organic farmers make great efforts to keep GMOs out of their foods, there's no absolute guarantee. Testing for GMOs is not a mandatory part of the organic certification process, so organic doesn't necessarily mean 100% GMO-free. In conclusion, while organic foods are less likely to contain GMOs than conventionally grown foods, they're not necessarily GMO-free. So the myth that organic foods are always GMO-free is debunked. Let's summarize what we've learned today. Organic foods aren't always healthier. They can contain pesticides, and their farming isn't necessarily better for the environment. Their taste is subjective, and they can potentially contain GMOs. These myths, often held as truths, have now been debunked. Remember, it's always important to do your own research and make informed decisions about your diet. Do you have any other myths about organic foods you want debunked? Share with us in the comments below.